This year's recipient of the Duke Flad Outstanding Undergraduate Award, whom I shall present to you shortly, is Michael J. Bartz, Zeta Theta Zeta at Memphis State University. I shall not review for you the extensive fraternal, extracurricular, and community activities of Mike, for they're in your program. Yet, they are but a small part of the justification for this award. If all of these accomplishments had occurred during a period of normalcy, they'd be impressive. To have occurred in a period of upheaval and tension within the chapter, now a colony, is remarkable. Rather than dwell on Mike's accomplishments, therefore, I would prefer to tell you something about the kind of person Mike is, and this can best be done by quoting some of the letters the committee received in support of his nomination. In the words of Mike Kirk, former High Pi, when the Alumni Control Board of the Memphis State chapter was considering what to do about the tragic and intolerable state of the chapter, Mike was the cornerstone. The Control Board voted to recommend that the Grand High Zeta revoke the charter of Zeta Theta Zeta and revert it to colony status. If Mike had not been there and willing to continue as High Alpha, the Alumni Control Board would have had recommended that the chapter be allowed to remain dormant. Greek Affairs Advisor Teresa Lauser had this to say: I became acquainted with Mike when he was faced with the very difficult responsibility of serving as president in probably the most turbulent time that the chapter has ever faced. During the entire process, Mike always remained calm and cool. He provided a patient and positive outlook and a leadership style that was fundamental to Lambda Chi's being a part of our Greek system again. I feel very strongly that there are many young men who have pulled a chapter up by its bootstraps, yet Mike Bartz achieved this while he was being subjected to considerable criticism and harassment by his peers. But through it all, he seemed to put his chapter's survival first and himself second. Brother Kirk writes further, Mike provided leadership and guidance when there was none. He served his fraternity above and beyond the call of duty. It took great courage and determination on his part for him to continue as president of the colony, but he became more resolute than the high standards of Lambda Chi Alpha would succeed. Danny Busan, current High Alpha of our colony, comments, Mike always makes that effort to reach out and achieve the goal that he has set. Mike's brotherhood and friendship, along with his leadership, have rekindled our Zeta, and he will never be forgotten for his efforts. Mike's resolve caused former consultant Mark Ertl to add in his report, High Alpha Mike Bartz is truly a credit to the fraternity. He has led and organized this group with admirable style and knowledge, and he still does. Through it all, Mike never lost sight of his priorities. And Mike Kirk summed it up this way: even with so many things to do, Brother Bartz still found time to involve himself with various campus organizations, clubs, and societies. The most amazing thing to me, though, is Mike's overall grade point average, 3.63, in a tough electrical engineering curriculum. It's astounding that someone could be under the obligations and pressures that he was and still excel in school. He never forgot that education was the main reason he was at Memphis State. My brothers and guests, may I now present to you a caring brother, an outstanding leader, and a warm human being, Brother Michael Bartz.
Brother Gunn introduced last year's recipient, Charlie Tomini, and I had the pleasure to talk with Charlie last night while he was playing hall monitor, and he walked up to me and he asked me, he said, well, are you nervous? Do you know how it feels yet? And I didn't know then, and I was talking with some of the other brothers, and we were all talking very late, and he came by again and he asked me the same thing, are you nervous? Do you know what it feels like? And Charlie, I know, and it feels great. As I collected my thoughts of what I wanted to say to you today, I was determined I was going to be witty, informative, dramatic, and entertaining. Instead, I found myself caught in the same predicament as all Duke Flad Award winners before me, searching for a way to express the overwhelming feelings I have for you and my fraternity. I find myself using words which are sometimes overworked for occasions such as these, which are nonetheless true and nonetheless unique to me. You see, this really is the happiest moment of my life. I never really will forget this as long as I live. I really must thank you from the bottom of my heart. I'm really humbled by this award and the legacy behind it. Brothers, I thank you for this honor. But more than anything else, I'm amazed at being honored for my activities as a member of Lambda Chi Alpha, simply because I always felt I was the one who benefited the most from my involvement. The friends I met, the people and friends I made, the memories I'll always have, the talents I developed, and the fun I had, these were the rewards, not only for me, but for every brother of Lambda Chi Alpha as he passes through his collegiate days. These rewards will always be symbolized to me by the Cyril Duke Flad Award. In that sense, every brother of Lambda Chi Alpha shares this award with me. Brothers, I could talk to you all day and all night about what Lambda Chi Alpha means to me. I could tell you of the irreversible effect that it has had on my life. I could tell you with confidence that Lambda Chi Alpha is the best collegiate fraternity in the world, a fraternity founded on a vision and guided by Providence. I could speak of our great collective accomplishments and the men who were our leaders, men such as Cyril Flad, John Mason, and E.J.C. Fisher. I could talk about our heritage of greatness for which we pride ourselves, and it would be a story which you are all familiar. Instead, I feel compelled that I must address an area of even more importance: your future, our future. The story that I must tell is one not of theory, but one of harsh reality. It is a story wrapped up in my own personal fraternal experience, full of heartaches and triumphs. And it is important because it is the only future of any fraternity chapter which is not made aware. Historians and philosophers have argued as to whether the great men of history were intrinsically great men or were normal men who rose to the occasion of great events. I tend to agree with the latter. If I truly deserve this great award, it is because I was presented with a series of great events, great needs, and great crises, which I tried to the best of my ability, with the help of others, to overcome. I know by now all of you have read the article that came from the spring 1983 issue of our Cross and Crescent magazine entitled "Suicide by Absence of Standards," written by our Director of Chapter Services, Frank Mays. This article gives a thought-provoking look at the powerful negative effect which even a slight erosion of standards can have on even the strongest of chapters. When this article was published, several of the brothers of my chapter asked me if the article was about our chapter. As you read the article, you too may have recognized some elements of your chapter in that article. Yet you may have rationalized your thoughts by thinking your chapter couldn't go that far. Brothers, there was no wondering at our house. We were that chapter. My chapter was once as great as any chapter in Lambda Chi Alpha. And brothers, my chapter died. Let me tell you my story. Zeta Theta Zeta was a flagship chapter of Lambda Chi Alpha and the Memphis State University Greek system. In the fall of 1975, we had a membership of 110 men, 50 more than the next closest fraternity. Our house was the largest on campus. We slept 30 men, and we maintained a full meal program. 11 of the 16 years, we won first place in either Greek Alsing, or Fraternity Follies. Of the 32 senators elected to the Student Government Association of Memphis State University, having a population of 22,000 students, 10 of those senators were Lambda Chi Alphas. We won university intramurals 8 years in a row, and in 1979, we represented Memphis State University in the Schlitz National College Intramural Olympics and were crowned champions of the world when we won that event. During these years, our chapter produced 2 members of the General Fraternity staff, 2 Duke Flad honorable mentions, 2 members of the National Ritual Exemplification Team, 2 members of the Student Advisory Committee, 1 Grand High Sigma, a member of the Alumni Advisory Committee, and an Order of Merit winner. In 1978, we were the host chapter of the Dixie Conclave, and in 1979, as we hosted the 17th Leadership Seminar, we were awarded the Grand High Alpha Award of Excellence for the 2nd consecutive time. Yes, brothers, we were a strong chapter. I would even venture to say that no matter where you come from in this country, we were as strong as you were. I don't say that to boast. I say that to serve as a warning. For last year, May 1982, Zeta Theta Zeta died. There isn't time to go into all the details of our decline and fall, nor is there a need. The fact of the matter is, our story is summed up perfectly by the title of the article I mentioned before, Suicide by Absence of Standards. The cancer which kills a fraternity always starts from within. It is a silent killer. A little disregard for simple house rules such as study quiet hours or mealtime dress codes can grow within a year or two into pranks which place a fraternity chapter on probation. A little bit of hazing just for the fun of it can lead to a total corruption of our associate member system and lead to total disrespect for our uninitiated brothers. A campaign to associate more men rather than better men only leads to its obvious conclusion, a decline in the quality of membership. Failure to discipline a brother for a minor violation will naturally lead to only more serious violations, and a loss of the idea that discipline and mutual respect are an integral part of the foundation upon which our brotherhood rests. Bit by bit, the standards will fall, and bit by bit, the brotherhood will die. Brothers, my chapter had been the best in the world. The last year, we had to ask the General Fraternity to perform a membership evaluation, a total house cleaning, if you will. This action, intended to be a positive move, only brought bitterness and indecisiveness. Our brotherhood was fragmenting. Our chapter was crumbling. Sadly, one night, our Alumni Association met and voted to close the house. Soon thereafter, our charter was revoked by the Grand High Zeta. Brothers, I'll never forget that numb feeling I had when I wrote and posted that sign that announced the death of my proud chapter. I'll never forget the sight of security guards sitting in the hallway of my home. I'll never forget the heartache that I felt when we locked the doors of my home and watched brothers leave, many of whom I would never see again. I'll never forget walking those quiet hallways, which had never known silence before. And all through this, I'll never forget asking myself the question, why? Why did it all have to happen? Roy Disney, brother of the late wizard Walt Disney, once said that if your values are right, your decisions will be right. When the individual prizes his desires over the needs of the group, his values are wrong. His decisions will be wrong. When the fraternity chapter prizes its desires over the goals of the educational institution, which is its host, its values are wrong. Its decisions will be wrong. When the members of the chapter reject both the support and the discipline of the General Brotherhood, of which they are a part, their values are wrong. Their decisions will be wrong. Most of all, when the individual loses the vision of Lambda Chi Alpha and fails to realize that he benefits the most by doing the very things which help the fraternity the most, then his values and his decisions will be wrong. Fraternities are traditionally secret by nature, but the greatest secret of Lambda Chi Alpha is really no secret at all. The more you enrich the lives of others, the more your own life is enriched. This doctrine upon which our fraternity is based is by no means original with Lambda Chi Alpha. Dale Carnegie, who literally wrote the book on human relations, called this idea having a genuine interest in other people. And he once said that you can make more friends in 2 days by being interested in other people than you can in 2 months by trying to get them interested in you. The great inspirational speaker, Zig Ziglar, says, "You can get whatever you want out of life if you'll just help enough other people get what they want out of life." Even Thomas Jefferson echoed this theme by saying, "To contribute by neighborly intercourse and intention to make others happy is the shortest and the surest way of being happy ourselves." But nowhere is it expressed better than in the words of a simple Galilean who 2,000 years before John Mason used his words as a basis for our collegiate fraternity, issued a commandment to all men to love our neighbors as ourselves. This concept is so important to us that we call it the Golden Rule. This is also another happy time in my life, because now my colony, which I was a member of until this past May, has now been in existence for 1 year. And you'll be happy to know that this was brought about through the efforts of the General Fraternity, the Zeta Theta Alumni Association, and a few dedicated brothers. Soon they hope to receive their charter. And now we can send them our comfort and encouragement. If we learn from the pain and tragedy that befell our chapter, you'll be hearing from Zeta Theta again. And if you take this lesson home with you and nurture it in your heart, we'll be hearing from you too. Brothers, I love Lambda Chi Alpha. There's none better in the world. I thank you for this honor, but know this, all of you share this award with me, for Lambda Chi Alpha is its own reward. Thank you.